Hey guys, so I'm back with a requested video today. Not only have I gotten requests to make a travel related video kind of like this, I get so many comments and questions and messages about it that I thought it was time I make a travel series of videos. This is a really long topic, so you might want to grab a cup of tea or a drink or something. Maybe watch this video while you're doing your makeup or getting ready for the day. These will be broken up into a series of maybe 2 to 3 videos. I've also included time markers down in the video description so you guys can click on the topics or points of interest throughout the video that are most interesting to you. Anyway, travel is a very big topic, so let's go ahead and get started. My laptop is also overheating a little bit, so if you hear a gentle humming in the background, I hope that you find it soothing. To start out, one of the most important things you've got to do when you start to plan a trip is obviously choose dates. I find this the most challenging part of a trip. I'm not sure why. There's something kind of stressful about committing to dates than having to stick to them. But I think once you've got that done, you're going to feel a lot more at ease. So get that out of the way first. Ideally, you'll have a location in mind, be it a city, a country, or maybe even a few countries. When I travel, my preference is to stick to maybe 1 or 2 places, or even just one place, and get to know it really well. For example, you guys may have noticed that my Japan trips are pretty much focused entirely on Tokyo because there's so much to do in Tokyo alone. I also find that just picking a small number of locations is the most easy and stress-free way to travel. I would also highly recommend it to you if you're traveling alone, or maybe if it's your first time traveling overseas or to a certain area of the world. If you do prefer to hop around and visit a lot of different countries, maybe one of those pre-planned, pre-booked kind of tours would be a better option for you. When choosing how long I want to stay somewhere, I usually add at least 1 to 4 days to the beginning of the trip, and then at least 1 day at the end of the trip. These are to allow for settling in, jet lag recovery, and then of course the day at the end is because packing and getting to the airport is always going to take at least a day. If I was traveling from Australia to Europe, for example, I would add maybe 3 to 4 days at the beginning of the trip because the jet lag is so severe. This of course is a little bit of a more luxurious approach, I'm gonna say, because obviously extra days is more time, more money, but if you are going on a longer trip, I would highly advise this. If not, just add 1 day on each end. I think that's really helpful. If you can't decide how long you want to stay in a city, write down a list of all the activities and things you'd like to do, and then write it into like a mock-up daily schedule. And this should give you an idea of how many days you should spend somewhere. So now that you have your dates and you've chosen your location, the next thing you're going to do is book your flights, accommodation, and travel insurance. These are pretty much the 3 biggest expenses of a holiday, and they're also really important to book soon. Flights are going to book out really fast, and the prices are only going to go up the longer you leave it. Accommodation is going to book out, especially places like Airbnb, which are so popular, and I've actually seen places booked out on there up to a year in advance. You're going to want to book flights and accommodation at least 3 months in advance. Travel insurance doesn't have any deadlines, but if you know your dates, you may as well go ahead and buy your travel insurance, and then you've got that out of the way. You also may want to go ahead and book your car rental if you do require a car for where you're staying. My tips for booking flights are pretty much the same as anywhere else. Check Expedia, Kayak, Webjet. They're all good sites. I will be sure to link below any of the travel websites that I've used. But the more important tip is to never choose your seat without checking seatguru.com first. I've been using this website for years. My dad introduced it to me a really long time ago because he always uses it. I'm sure tons of you guys already know about this website and use it yourself, but you basically just enter your aircraft or your flight number and it'll come up with a map of the airplane and it highlights the best and worst seats to sit in. It even shows which seats have power outlets and little things like that. So I find it super helpful and it will give you that peace of mind that you know you've chosen the right seat. And if you can't choose between aisle or window seat, this is kind of how I like to approach it. If it's a day flight, I like to be on the aisle because I'm going to be drinking a ton of fluids. I like to really keep my hydration up, so I'm probably going to have to be getting up to go to the bathroom a lot, and that's just so much more easier than having to climb over people, obviously. And if you're lucky, you shouldn't have any annoying person next to you who's constantly climbing over for you. My most recent long haul flight where I sat in the aisle, the person next to me was amazing, and they definitely climbed over me when I was asleep at one point, and I had no idea. I was just like dead to the world. For a night flight where you want to get on the plane and just go right to sleep, a window seat might be good because you can just kind of cuddle up and lean against the wall, which is quite handy. If you really just want to have the least socially awkward, easiest seat of all, the aisle is still probably going to be the best. You will have people climbing over you, but you can pretty much get in and out as you please. And I also find it really easy to sleep in a regular seat. I don't need a wall to lean up against, so if you're really not sure, I guess I would go aisle. Some tips for booking your accommodation. Don't just rely on travel websites because they don't always list all accommodations available. So something really good to do is to just go into Google and type in things like lodging, lodge, bed and breakfast, holiday rentals, apartment rentals. Also, if you're putting your availability into somewhere like Expedia or TripAdvisor, a lot of businesses forget to update their availability calendars. So if you're typing in your dates on a website and it shows up there's no availability, it could be wrong. So it's always worth checking Google and going to those websites yourself. And if there's a place that you really love, contact them by emailing them or calling them right away just to confirm it's definitely available or unavailable. So next we're going to be talking about organization. Something I always do when traveling is I print out a weekly or monthly view calendar. I usually get these from timeanddate.com, so you can have a visual reference of your trip and how much time you have. It's really helpful. And as soon as you've booked something, or if you've decided on an activity you want to do on a certain day, you can go ahead and write it in, and you can just see your travel plans fill up and you'll feel so organized. I'd also suggest buying an A4 plastic folder for all your travel documents. Mine is a clear envelope style one I got from Officeworks in Australia, and it has this little magnetic clip, which is pretty cool. I also like to use the back of it to put maybe like a map or a schedule or something for quick reference. When I was in Japan, I used to put the JR train line map on the back there so I could easily look at it. As soon as you have a booking confirmation, it's really good to print it out and put it straight into the folder. That way you have hard copies of everything. Of course, you can do pretty much everything just on your smartphone nowadays, but I think it's really good to have a hard copy backup. You're also going to want to have photocopies or scans of both your driver's license or ID and your passport. This is so important to have if you lose your wallet or your passport. If you want a bit more privacy, you could of course get a solid colored folder that isn't clear, but that's completely up to you guys. I also like to stick little colored tabs on my documents and label them. It makes it a lot easier to find things quickly. On my computer mail account, I also create a folder for the trip, and as soon as I receive any booking confirmation emails or anything else travel related, I drag it straight into that folder. That way you don't accidentally delete anything and you can easily find it later on. So that is it for this video. I hope you guys found it interesting and you maybe picked up some new travel tips. Be sure to look out for more videos from my travel series on my channel. I'm also going to be doing a special edition What's in My Bag. So anyway, as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!